What's up YouTube, this is Jabber. So today I'm going to give you my final thoughts on this iPhone 10 after owning it for about a week. And I want to let you know, should you guys spend your hard-earned cash on this device or not? And this is my honest opinion. So I bought this device by myself. Nobody gave it to me. I was not handed this for a promotion. I spent my $12.50 hard-earned cash on this device. And I'm really going to give you my honest thoughts, and I hope you can join in the comments below. Let me know what you guys think about the phone, whether you're Android or whether you're iOS, doesn't really matter. Great hardware, great software can be appreciated by all. So let's get into this thing right away. This is obviously my iPhone 10. I got the silver edition, aka white edition. And I already gave my unboxing and first impressions on this device, so I'd suggest you check that out if you're interested. But it is a gorgeous device. There's no doubt that Apple knows how to make great hardware, and it definitely shows. This feels extremely premium in the hand. It has some nice weight to it. The side rails made of stainless steel really feel excellent. That A11 chip is super fast, really speedy. No issues with this thing at all in terms of speed, so we're really not going to go over that. And I'm not going to make this a spec video. If you know the iPhone 10, you know what the specs are. But it's Apple's first redesign in a super long time. And frankly, it's about time. And I really think they did it right. People are really complaining about this notch on the front. After you first take it out of the box, you really don't notice this thing anymore, and I really have not noticed it whatsoever. Sure, if you're looking at photos, let me pull up a photo for you guys. All right, you have a white background, you're in landscape. Yes, you can see that notch, but is it really a big deal? No. I would definitely take this design over the old stale design any day of the week. So if you just set it like this, Apple has blocked out the sides so you can see your entire photo. And if you want to zoom in, you can zoom in on your photo, and then of course that notch will interrupt your photo and you will not see it completely in full screen. But is that a big deal? It's something to complain about? I really don't think so. You're zooming in on the photo anyway, so you're zooming in on what you would like to focus on, not looking what's on the outer part of the photo. So that's really not an issue at all. I don't know why people are complaining about that, but I'm going to say it's a non-issue whatsoever. And if you see these photos, they're absolutely beautiful, and I do have a comparison with the Galaxy Note 8, so check that out too if you want to see how these two flagships go head to head against each other. But that's not really an issue with that black notch on the top, and if it really does bother you, switch to a black wallpaper like I did. I know there's an app out there that gets rid of the notch, and basically that's all it's doing is blacking out the top. You don't need another app. If you're staring at it head on, you do not even notice that notch with a black wallpaper. So really guys, that's not an issue at all. Another issue I heard people complaining about, let me pull up a website, is that black bar on the bottom, and that's supposed to help you swipe out from wherever you need to go. And people are saying that while you're reading something, it blocks out your words. Like, come on guys, that's really not a non-issue as well. So if you're really reading all the way to the bottom, that's good for you, but I think most of us will read till about 3/4 down before we swipe up to get a whole nother page to read. So that's really a non-issue. Don't worry about it. And if Apple didn't do that, you could be guaranteed people will complain that they don't know where to swipe up from. I could guarantee that this will probably be removed in maybe 2 more iterations of this phone, just because people will already be accustomed to swiping up, so it will not be an issue, and Apple won't have to keep reminding you that, hey, this is where the home button used to be. So don't worry about that. Don't let that stop you from buying this phone. That's really a non-issue. Another thing I don't like about this is Face ID. So Face ID, when it works, is excellent. So if you have notifications, they will just show as a notification until Face ID unlocks your phone, and then you get to read the messages and see what it is before actually swiping up to unlock your phone. But Face ID has not really worked 100% for me. I've already had some problems even on the first day of getting this phone. I went out in the city and walked around, and Face ID worked about 8 out of 10 times. And then also in winter, it was actually really cold this weekend, so I had on a hat and I had my jacket partially covering my face, I'd say about halfway. Face ID did not unlock. So it is great when it works, but it's still got some problems. But I'm pretty sure Apple is going to frequently update their code for Face ID and make it a little more efficient, whatever. But that's a great feature of this phone when it works. But when it doesn't work, it can be quite frustrating. So just keep that in mind. And then really, guys, there's nothing else bad about this phone that I can really say other than perhaps the price. I really think the price of this phone is too damn high. I think Apple is really charging its user base a premium for having a new refresh. And there are reports that state that the next iteration will be a lot cheaper just because components and whatnot will have become cheaper. I call BS on that. I say they want to make as much as they can in the beginning and then grab everybody else when they release the iPhone XS. You heard it here first, the XS. I don't know, but it's really too damn high. I think Apple is really pushing their price envelope with this phone, and I haven't really seen many out and about in the wild just yet, but of course they are still quite hard to find. So I'm sure in the next month or so, especially after the holidays, I will see tons of these. And basically, if you can put aside the price tag of this phone, this is awesome. If this phone was $800, $900, even $950, I would say this is an absolute winner. Definitely go for it, because I think phones are definitely approaching that $1,000 mark, and Apple and Google have definitely pushed past the $100 mark. But at 256 gigabytes for $1,150, you could say this is a good deal, but again, it's not, other than this new design. So you're basically really paying a lot more for this new design. And like I said, if you can get over the price tag, this is an excellent device and definitely recommended. I've had a few hiccups with this phone. There's been a couple instances of lag, but I think that it's basically because a lot of the apps aren't written for this new screen, so maybe they're freaking out. I really have no idea, but it is a really great design. I do think iOS is not properly ready for this new device. And the operating system, as I mentioned, I think needs a little bit more tweaking. And I'll just pull up the camera just to show you. It's really not taking full advantage of the bigger screen. If you had an iPhone 7 and put this side by side, you'd probably have the same layout, probably the same size as well. So iOS needs to be polished a little more for this device, and that's another reason I think maybe you shouldn't pick it up, just because you're paying that higher premium for a product that's really not 100% ready. Do another example of what I mean by that. So when you want to close apps, you have to bring this up to the middle. You have to bring this up to the middle for your tasker, right? So when you do that, you're presented with the list of all your apps. But what happens if you want to close an app? On your old iPhone, what you would do is you would just swipe up and it would be gone. So if you remember, I just swiped away the settings menu. So I'm going to swipe through here, and you see my settings tab is still open. So they're giving you these new gestures to use, and swiping away is what we've been accustomed to on both Android and iOS for such a long time, but it's not actually swiping away your application. It's just like getting you back to the home screen. So if I take photos, now I'll show you. So I'll show you that again. If I take Safari and think I'm closing out Safari, I'm really not, because when I go back to my tasker, Safari is still there. So what you have to do on this device is you have to actually hold down until you see the delete tab, and then you can start deleting them. Now the problem with this is, what if you have 50 apps open, 15 apps open? You have to go one by one by one. Apple has not included a close all tab anywhere to be seen. And that's a little bit of a downer, because I do not want to close out all my apps one by one. And I'm sure Apple will add the close all tab, so I'm not too concerned with that. But again, you're paying this premium for a device that's not really ready for prime time. I'm going to call it prime time. And then I showed you that again last time. If you want to download an app, let's just choose Sandbox or whatever. You click on Get. You have to double click on the power button to install. Why do I have to double click on this and then look at Face ID and then press install again? That makes no sense to me. I already chose get. That means I want the app. Why don't you already just present myself with Face ID and then install automatically? Whereas on my old iPhone, all I'd have to do is use Touch ID and it installed at the same time. So a lot of tasks are a lot faster on your older devices with Touch ID. iOS 11.1 is not ready for this device. And I'm going to say that, and you guys will find out when you get your phone, or if you check other videos. I don't know if other people are mentioning that, but I'm just keeping it real, keeping it 100, and that's a little problem. And then also you're paying $1,150 for most of your apps, which will not be ready for prime time. Whenever I say prime time, I'm referring to this fancy new iPhone 10, because this is prime time. This is what it's all about these days. And then another problem with this device is turning off the phone. You can no longer just hold the power button and turn off the phone. That actually activates Siri. That's a little bit annoying. You actually have to hold down 2 buttons and then it'll give you the option. But if you hold it down too long, it's going to call 911. So I mean, this is just silly, everybody. What if you're out, you're drunk, and you're holding the buttons for way too long, and then you accidentally call 911? I see a lot of missed dials with this. Not prime time ready. That's all I got to say about this. Will it be prime time ready? It definitely will be in the next, I'd say the next 6 months, but I doubt Apple is ever going to fix the 2-button power off and the safety 911 call. That's just something that's going to be there forever. But I do like the new gestures. I'm really used to this. If you've got an Android phone or you use the Palm OS devices from back in the day, these gestures are really, really simple. I'd say by the end of 2 hours playing with this phone, you'll have all the gestures down packed and you won't even think about it again. Great thing about this phone as well, speaker quality of this phone is absolutely awesome. I'll play a little sample for you right now.
It's not the same, but I feel it anyway. Tell me if that's okay. No,
really enjoyable. Really enjoyable listening experience on this phone. And overall, for multimedia, is it ready for prime time? As you just saw, let me show you that again. YouTube is not really ready for this new aspect ratio on the iPhone. And I'm going to say it's the same on Android. If you have the new aspect ratio, it's really not full screen just yet. But a lot of manufacturers do have an option that extends it to the edge of the screen, basically stretching it. So I think Apple needs to implement that feature in their iOS as well. Just a little stretch tab so that you're manipulating the app just to fill up the entire screen. Because I have this beautiful screen, but when I want to watch YouTube videos, I'm presented with a much smaller display than what I paid $1,150, $1,250 after tax for. And that's a bummer. I'm not enjoying that. But what I am enjoying is when the app is optimized for this screen, and it just makes everything awesome. Like when you have an app or a game that's optimized for this screen, there's nothing else that compares to this. It's definitely worth the money when it's like this. But again, this little bar is a little annoying. I think what they should do is get rid of the bar, especially when you're playing games or you have it in landscape. When you're having it in portrait and you're reading, it's not a big deal. But when you're playing a game or you're watching a video in landscape and you have this bar, it's really annoying. They should just fade it away until you touch the bottom of the screen and then it'll come back into full light. That's what they really should do. But I think what they're doing, they're getting people accustomed to the gestures. So mark my words, this might go away by the time the XS is here. And again, all you do is swipe up and get rid of it. We talk about something else that quite bothers me with iOS and proves that this phone is not prime time ready. So I'm paying $1,300, let's call it $1,300 after tax, and I buy a nice fancy case. I'm paying $1,300 for a phone and I have 256 gigs of storage. Why can't I download directly from the web? I understand Apple's a closed ecosystem and they keep everything on the low, but if I'm paying all this money, I want to be able to go to a website. This is one of my favorite websites and I love going here to find new music, download when I'm out and about and just listen to it. So iOS, you're charging me all this money, but you're not ready for prime time. Why can't I just click on a song that I want to play and just download it? I don't understand why you don't let me to download files. So I can play it directly from here, but I can't download it to my 256 gigabyte phone. That just irks me, and that makes me want to not spend this amount of money on an Apple device. And if Apple changed this and allowed me to download, and if Apple let me just save files, even music files, to my device from the web or from my email, if I could just save this directly, Apple would be in the running for my next daily driver. But I can't just save these and listen to it whenever I want. It's just super annoying that I can't do that. But that's an iOS problem. I'm really not going to get into that. But again, that's why this phone and iOS is not ready for prime time at this price point. And I keep saying that because once you pass that $1,000 mark, even once you pass the $900, $850, I'm going to expect a lot more from a device. I'm going to expect to be able to do anything I want to do from a device, and I just can't do it with the iPhone. So a lot of apps are ready, a lot of apps aren't ready. But my review on this, I'm going to try and keep it short for you guys. If you have any questions, ask me on the comments below. And I put up a camera comparison. The camera is awesome. Video is awesome. Slow motion at 240 frames a second is so much fun to use. Really, really great. I've had a great time with this phone, and it definitely is worth it if you want the latest and greatest. But if you can hold out for a little bit, I would say hold out until maybe the XS comes out, or until they drop the price a little bit, until you find a deal with a carrier or Best Buy or someone. Because again, as the theme goes, I think the phone is not prime time ready, especially not for that high price tag. But if money's no object and you need the latest and greatest, or you're tired of the same old design from iPhones, definitely pick this up. You will not be disappointed. Super fast, super smooth. Camera's a beast. The phone is a beast. Everything about this phone is just beast mode. As long as you have the cash to burn and you're not worried about what you spent that cash on, this is definitely a win. And with a lot of carriers and stores offering you installment plans, I think $30 a month or whatever it is, that's not so bad. You don't feel that hit quite as much. But this is beast mode. If you're high into iOS and everything you do is Apple, definitely get this one. You will be a beast yourself walking down the street. You'll feel super special, and people will always ask you, oh, is that the new iPhone? Can I check it out? So is it worth it? In the end of the day, it all depends on you. If you're okay with spending that cash right now, if you are going to keep this phone for 2-3 years, definitely worth it. You're not going to look at your old phone again in the same light. And once you start seeing a bunch of these, you will have iPhone 10 envy, and you will be jelly of everybody using the iPhone 10 when you're rocking the old stale design from back in the days. So I would say go for it. So that's been my review, and I'll catch you guys next time. Peace.